Would you like to go with others? Would you like to go with me?
We bought this house in December of 2016, and we looked at it. We put it in a really aggressive offer. It was listed for $450, and we offered $400, and we were able to negotiate with the sellers a price of $415,000. This house was built early 2000s, which is crazy to think that that's now 23 years old. But yellow doors, kind of yellow oak floors, and just really kind of started to feel dated. So my wife talked to me about like what type of updates are we gonna do and what can we make our own? And I was like, I'm not touching a thing. There was a big pantry here, there was a drop floor, and it was kind of split up, not necessarily as open as you'd like. Everything was in good condition, good shape, so I just had a really hard time coming to grips with spending any money on a home that worked. And she talked about kids. Well, we hadn't had kids at that time. Nola was born in 2018. So the idea of, having an open floor plan and being able to see kids never resonated with me. And I was like, no, this is perfect. It's fine. We're not touching a thing. She got a bid by a construction company in town for just a kitchen remodel in early 2017 was $85,000. And so the idea of having an $85,000 remodel was just insanity. So that got put on hold indefinitely. We had an unfinished basement. We had our first child, our second child. And when we were pregnant, when Janae was pregnant with our second child, Rocky, we just thought we were having a conversation. Do we stay here or and renovate and finish the basement or go buy another house? Market was tight. We had 2,000 square feet downstairs. So we went ahead and finished the basement, turning this house from a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom into a 5-bedroom, 3-bathroom house where the downstairs could still be used with our in-laws and family and things of that nature, but upstairs remained the same. Then we had Boone, and the idea of, are we gonna go and move outside of town, build our dream house, or are we gonna stay in this house and make it our forever home, so to speak, or at least our home for our kids through high school? And to do that, really to be comfortable, Janae thought that we needed to do some type of renovation, and I agreed. So we started to seriously play around with different ideas and concepts. We got an app, it's called Kubicasa, and literally walked around our house and drew it on the iPad. And so we had a floor plan that was set out and set designed that we could kind of play with. What if we move this wall? How can we make it an open concept? We knew we wanted a big island and a little bit more open space so that we could really just have more entertainment and be able to just have a better flowing kind of property and layout. We came up with this open concept. This was originally supposed to be 4 foot by 10 foot long, but you have to have a 36-inch gap right here for your walkway. So we kind of limited it to, we were gonna have a Tetris piece here, but in reality, what we ended up having was just a square 4 foot by 8 foot island to be able to make everything else work. But even doing that, we had to push our island a little bit further back from our stove, which then pushed into the living room, making our living room a little bit smaller. But all that being said, we started going down this process and getting really serious. Cody provided us some bids. We got our architectural drawings submitted and started the process. Began a permit process for the basement and a permit process for the upstairs. We were going to stay in the house. We were gonna stay in the back bedroom, and we had one of my mom and her boyfriend come over, and he's like, you will hate each other by the end of this project. We started kind of thinking about it. We're like, I think he's right. Like, we lived through the renovation of the basement, which got long, and it was just, by the time that was done, we were ready to be done with the project and ready to be done with the contractor. And we couldn't imagine what it would be like if we were living in the back bedroom and the kids over here, always having to be, careful with nails and tools and things of that nature, and probably slowing up the contractors. Everything would have just been a little bit delayed. So we decided to get some type of housing. We were fortunate enough to live at my dad's house for 2 weeks. Love you, Dad, but never gonna do that again. And then we moved into my mom's house, which she was there for a week, but then they were fortunately out on vacation for the rest of the time. And it was a great thing for us that we had an entire house to ourselves while this was getting done. All right, welcome to my house. You guys have probably watched a lot of my videos, and I've been down in my basement in the studio, but upstairs is where we spend a ton of our time. For the age of the house, typical layout, right? You had a separate living room, kitchen, dining room. Areas were really specific to, with walls and separations. Well, we knew we were gonna have kids, and my wife hated that there was this step down living room right here. So we raised the floor up. We used some, I think they were 2x12s to raise the floor up, and added subfloor, hardwoods, and pulled down this big pantry right here where, really kind of separated the kitchen from the dining room from the living room. And we opened everything up, added this huge 4 foot by 8 foot island that is gonna have our drop sink, dishwasher, and a sit-up bar that is gonna have 4 stools. Each stool needs about 2 feet. So we didn't really know how it was gonna turn out. And actually we were super anxious over the last 2 weeks. And as you can see, there's still tons of work that need to be done. Countertops were templated last night. They're projected to be installed next Tuesday, so about 5 days from now. Still got to get our appliances in here. Microwave's gonna go here. Gas oven, we switched it from an electric to a gas oven, so we had to run our gas line from our utility room underneath the floor here. So there's gonna be a gas oven here, a range that goes above it with a big a nice backsplash coming throughout. Let me show you guys some of the projects that are still yet to be done. When we do our final walkthrough, you guys will kind of see what's happened. This is a back patio door that is going to turn into just a window. And then over here, this was an office that will now be our oldest, Nola's own room. That was a big part of this renovation project. Is we decided that this is gonna be our house for the next 15 years while the kids go through school. And we want each of them to have their own room upstairs. So we turned the office into a bedroom, and each bedroom's a little smaller, but at least they have their own space. So got to finish up the bedroom, finish up the flooring, carpet here. This back window here is actually going to be our new patio door. So there's going to be a dual sliding patio door and walking out into our backyard. We live on a 1/3 of an acre here on Southeast Fort Collins, and really we want to spend time outdoors. So projects down the road are gonna be an outdoor kitchen and a big master bedroom remodel, but for now, we'll start with the kitchen. Alrighty, so back here, there was 3 main renovation parts. Our kitchen was a big one, raising the living room floor so it's really one big open space, adding the half bathroom, but then the last big part of the renovation was extending our second bathroom, because we do have 3 kids. Sorry, it is not very bright back here, but we do have 3 kids. They're all very close in age, and as much as they love each other, they also fight like crazy. So we took a kind of minimum sized bathroom, which is actually it was smaller. It was 5.5 feet by 4 feet, and the minimum bathroom is 4 foot by 6 foot. But we took this bathroom and we pushed out this was the linen closet, or sorry, this was Nola's closet at the time, and the linen closet right here, which is where the door is, so that we could add a dual vanity. We did all this work in here so we could have 2 sinks. But we do think that it's gonna be a little bit better for the kids as they're growing up, so that one can be here and then one can be over here and at least have their own sink while they're brushing their teeth, getting ready for bed. And then we'll have this glassed in, that's actually the tile it's gonna be, tile up here, one glass wall here, a rod, toilet, and this is the last big part of it. And we're excited. It's a little tight in here, but I think it's gonna really work for our family. One of the things that we did is when we decided to do this renovation is not worry about the resale value, not worry about what it's gonna look like on the backside of things, but make this house work for us, because we're gonna live here for the next 15 years. And honestly, which is crazy to think about, when we bought this house when this house was built in 2000 and we bought it in 2016, we're doing a major remodel. So in 15, 20 years when we move out, I'm sure the new owners are gonna wanna redo everything. Maybe they don't have to pull down walls or anything like that or extend walls, but they just have to do cosmetic updates. So we made this work for us and our family so we can live here for the next 10 to 15 years easy. Timeline on this project, you could definitely say it started when last July we got really serious when I was coloring out the front door, and I was like, wait, let's pause. If we're gonna do this full renovation, let's do it right. Let's start with the interior and go. And my wife looked at me and was like, oh my gosh, all right, like seriously? I was like, let's do it. So we started to draw out the project, had our contractor come over probably late November to discuss pricing and what it might look like, and is this going to be within budget? And the number that he gave us, was probably like high 70s. And because at that time, we weren't gonna do anything with the basement permitting wise. We were gonna get rid of the fireplace, and we didn't have too many add-ons. And we gave our contractor a timeline to start of February 14th. And between the time that I said go and the start date, I had second guesses like all along the way. I was just like, man, that's a lot of money. Like, do we need to do this? Why are we doing this? And ultimately I knew that we were committed and the money was there. We could do it financially. So let's just do it. And February 13th came, actually it was February 12th, we moved into my dad's house, and February 13th, 8 a.m. came, and they started sledgehammering and demolishing the house. And it was no turning back now. I remember walking in at the end of that day and taking a video, and I was just like, the only way forward is through this demolition project at this point. So we were in bed with the contractors, and we were in the middle of town, but we probably came through and looked at the house every so often. But really the project, the demolition side of things is so cool because it gets done so fast and everyone's working hard, and all of a sudden you go from a house to a shell, and it just is like, holy cow, you guys are cruising. And then after that, you have this just lull. You have like a 3-week lull of all of the internal work, electrical, plumbing, HVAC. Those are the big things that really take a lot of time and detail, and you just don't, it doesn't look like much is getting done, but in reality, a lot is getting done. And at that point, then we started to get into kind of the rebuild. So we started to see covering up, drywall, and things getting to be appliances delivered, cabinets delivered, and the project started to pick up steam going on the reconstruction side of things. Now, I absolutely love our contractor. I think he did an amazing job. His name's Cody. Happy to give his contact information out to anybody. I definitely vouch for him. But he is a smaller operation. The way that I, told my wife was that, we're getting about 75 to 80% of the quality for 50 to 60% of the cost. And the reason why is because we're not paying for designers or in-house architects or their insurance policy for their building or their rent or anything along those lines. We're paying for 2 guys in a truck and the cost of him and, staying up and doing business. And with that comes, some headaches. Getting sick, delays on ordering, or maybe not necessarily as structured of a process. So you have to be really hands-on if you're involved with this project and keeping your eyes open for, are all of the details getting taken care of? Like one small one was that we have a water softener system here, and the plumbing needed to go to the refrigerator. And fortunately, actually, our contractor is the one who caught it, but he called me, he's like, hey, do you guys want the water softener to go to your water dispenser? We're like, yes, absolutely. So he had to rip up some of the flooring, not the final flooring, but rip up some of the rough flooring and replumb in the water line for that. So there's kind of some small annoyances and things of that nature when you're working with a smaller contractor, but we are now in week 10 of, since February, at the end of week 10, actually, 10 weeks and 5 days since the start on February 13th. And There's still some work to be done. Just today, they poured the concrete. As you can see, there's some sanding, texturing, and painting that needs to get done. The fireplace, we're going to put a tile surround there. There's a glass that needs to be done in the small bathroom and a mirror. So there's still work to be done, but ultimately, we moved in this Wednesday. Our family, it was just exhausting, so we were just wanting to be back home. Now, I want to talk to you guys about costs, like all-encompassing what it looked like for us who we hired a general contractor, but also kind of were a general contractor ourselves because we hired out the architect. We were the designer. We hired out, our general contractor who did have subs and subcontractors. He had his own electricians, plumbers, painters. They were a lot of the work themselves. But right when we started the project, it was going to be high 70s, and then we decided that we were going to permit the basement and keep the fireplace. And the final bid came back at $98,000, and it was a little bit higher, but at that point we're like, all right, we're good with it. The architect was a $2,000 cost that we just had to pay directly. Structural engineer, we had to have them out twice, $350 per visit on that side of things. So, that's another $700. So right there, we're at about $100,000. And I really didn't want to extend over 100, but really from opening up the kitchen, adding a half bathroom, extending the second bathroom, new flooring throughout, new appliances, wasn't too bad. And then we started going through the project. And one thing you definitely want to do is understand there's going to be changes that you want to make. Add an electrical outlet here, maybe extend the countertop to have a waterfall, add cabinets above, so have floor to ceiling cabinets. Those are probably the biggest expense add-ons that we did throughout the project is in the kitchen. High ticket, high priced items, and some of the fixtures and faucets and sinks that we did were, definite upgrades from what the contractor, had originally planned. And I think you could minimize that to a certain extent if you did have a designer who gave all of the product specifications to the contractor when they were doing their bid process. But this contractor, he could just go off of the estimations based off of what they thought previously they have done. So during that project, we increased our budget from $98,000 to $115,000 for those kind of add-ons. We still had our $2,000 for architectural, $1,000 roughly for structural. And then we did have to spend some money. We paid utilities back to our family members, which, grateful that we didn't have to do any type of housing, but that added up to about $2,000 right there. So all encompassing, we were all about $120,000 for this renovation project. We are essentially done with the construction side of things. Now we have to put furniture in. I'm standing right at our bar and we don't have 4 bar stools. Fortunately, our couches work and they work well. My mom is very adamant that we decorate the house, and I joked that I'm like, no way in hell am I decorating this, and she's like, it's gonna make it home, and I was saying it in jest, but we've got to put some decorations in, and there's just gonna be small things that we've got to take care of that are gonna be an additional cost. We're gonna put new blinds in because they're kind of dated. I would expect us to probably spending another $5,000 to $7,000 on furnishings, $5,000 on some new blinds throughout, and then probably another $2,000 on bar stools and a new rug and things of that nature. So all in about $125,000 for the entire project, start to finish, to get this house renovated. Alrighty, our family just came back from a walk outside, and that's really why we decided to stay in this neighborhood. Is there's Fossil Creek Park near us, great walking, and so they just got home, went downstairs, and they're super excited to be here, and I am too. Now we're done, we're through it, and we get to really enjoy this really phenomenal renovation project that we did. We're gonna be here for the next 10 to 15 years while the kids are going through school, and really look forward to beating the crap out of it with young kids. So that's another expectation that I would say is super important, that I told my wife. I said, when we get in there, there's gonna be chips on the countertop, scratches in the floor, and it's gonna be ours.
Would you like